Most of the people that we've talked to here, certainly all of the Hall of Famers, first name that comes up is your dad's. Must be number one, a tremendous sense of pride. Is there also sort of a responsibility here that you carry this on?
Well, I feel that way in a way. I really wish he was here because I couldn't do it justice. I mean, he just was a phenomenal man. I mean, we all miss him dearly, and you can tell by the generous things that people have been saying and the compliments but in a way, I wanted to be here just to represent him and to see the people that he would be seeing and and trying to hold it together because it is tough because we all miss him and he would have loved this. This is what he was about, you know.
You know Eddie's boys, Zimmerman and Hamilton. You must remember those guys.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they lived with my dad for a while. Well, not so much Dennis, but Pete did. And I told somebody. I mean, not something I'm proud of, but I've seen him naked. You know, we traveled together. We've showered and slept in the same rooms, and I mean, they were my idols when I was growing up, and didn't even know it. They were just regular guys, but they were all just tremendous people, and then they went on to be even more tremendous people. But being a kid, being in their shadows was just absolutely fantastic. But I love seeing them here. They give me goosebumps when I see them still.
How about last night, I believe you were here when Gene was here.
Yeah. Ronnie Bouchard.
Ronnie Bouchard.
Yeah.
Of course, you're related to Ronnie, but
yeah, I get to see him all the time.
But people that I know that. Your father thought a lot of Gene Burgin, thought a lot of the way he drove and how clean he was.
There was a total mutual respect with Gene. I mean, he just admired what he could do with a race car, and they were on equal ground most of the time. But what really struck me yesterday, I was telling somebody earlier, the biggest thing I could probably take away from this is I'm standing between Pete Hamilton, Daytona 500 winner, Denny Zimmerman, Indianapolis Rookie of the Year, Ronnie Bouchard, a Talladega winner. Pete also a Talladega. Gene was here. I mean, and the kids are walking through, and they're in awe because they're people and they're race car drivers, but they didn't have a clue that who these people really are. I mean, they're the Mickey Mantles, the Babe Ruths, they're our sport, and to have them all in one little place, Waterford Speedbowl, and they could walk up and touch them. It was phenomenal.
You had an interesting comment about Waterford last night. You said you hope it never changes.
I hope it. This is what racing is meant to be. It's not Daytona. It's not Talladega. It's not the Charlottes. This is racing. This is what it should be. And people, we're all looking for the pot of gold and the big rainbow. But you know what? This is where the rainbow starts. It's not where it ends. It starts. And this, I hope, never ends. Because if it does, I think racing, as we all know it, will be gone.
Did you win your first feature here?
Yeah, I did. And that's not why I hope this place stays. I mean, for me, it was a tremendous place. But also, my dad, this was his last job. He was a track promoter, race director, whatever his hat was. Maybe all of them. I don't even know. But so I have a great respect for that also. But this itself, the establishment, not just Waterford, but what it represents. This is the Westboroughs. This is the Seacogs. This is the Riverside Park. We lose one more, it's just one more nail in the coffin.
Did you, of course, your dad was number one, but did you have heroes when you were growing up?
Bill Slater was my first hero. I mean, my father was my father. I mean, you loved your father, but he was your father, you know? He was your authoritarian person, so you respect him for that, but I mean, he was my hero later on in life. But Bill Slater was the first race car driver I ever got an autograph, and Pete Hamilton was my second.
Really? How did this situation with Slater come up?
Well, Bill, when I was a kid, running around the racetrack at Norwood, you know, that was 360 degrees, you could run all the way around it. And as a kid, I used to run around and my father would yell at me every week, "You're supposed to be sitting in the stands with your mother," you know. But anyway, I'd run around and Becky Schultz would chase me, you know, Freddie Schultz's wife. But anyway, I used to love the V8. It was just a beautiful car. It was always shiny and it looked fast and racing. And Bill was always in those black pants and the white shirt, and he took time to talk to you. And he was somebody that, I mean, my father would talk to me, you know what I'm saying? But it was the outsider. I just really liked that. I was drawn to that mystique of the professionalism that Bill Slater projected at that time. You didn't see that at that era. You know, you had Freddie Schultz and Bill Slater. There was nothing wrong with either one of them, but there was, you know, fire and ice, and he was just a cool guy, good looking, well dressed, and I liked him, so I went and bought a picture at the novelty stand and brought it over and I showed my father. Don't you think that pissed him off? But he was my first hero, and of course Pete, because he was going down south, that's why I wanted his autograph, but that was the second one I got.
That's a great story. But the other guys, you must have been very close to these guys because your dad was close to them.
Oh,
these
yeah.
Hall of Famers.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. And the thing is, again, being a kid, you took it for granted. You know, they were your buddies. They were the guys you were swimming with. You wrestled on the floor with them. You didn't think of them as heroes per se, because they were with you. You know, they were your older buddy that you grew up on the street corner with, kind of, sort of. You know, the parallel with it. But as they grew up, you know, when they went on to bigger and better things and stuff, it was neat to know you knew them and you rubbed elbows with them. You know, you ate together. You know, you cried together. You did all, and those are pretty neat times. You know, like today, the drivers, the Todd Zegedys and the Doug Colbys and stuff, they really don't even know who these guys are, and they're doing themselves a misjustice by not getting to know them, because they wouldn't be here today if they weren't for my father and Bill Slater and Rini Charland and Billy Greco and the Ronnie Bouchards even, and that era, Freddie DeCeros and Bugsy Stevens, and they're here. You could touch them, you could talk to them. It's really pretty neat.
I'm going to ask you a leading question, especially since he can edit this. So, honestly, the fields today of which you're a part of.
Yep.
Do they compare to the fields that your father raced against?
I got a lot of trouble for saying this last year, and I'll say it again. We couldn't hold a candle to these gentlemen. Couldn't hold a candle to them. They were talented race car drivers. We are just hired guns. We do a good job, and I'm proud to just talk about myself for a second, if I might. I'm proud of what I've accomplished. I think I'm an established, good race car driver. But they would eat me alive if they were here today to race with us. At their best, at my best, they would eat me alive in the same equipment. I know, and it's no disrespect when I said it that time about Teddy. I didn't mean any disrespect to him, because if you listen to my quote on tape, I said we couldn't hold the candle to them, and I mean that. I mean, think about it. When Teddy was being compared to Bugsy, to get back to that deal, Bugsy did it in one car, in one type of race cars. Teddy's done it in everything but the pace car at Stafford. Not to take anything away from him. He's a talented, I envy his record at Stafford. But to compare that to that, it's an injustice. But again, back with our generation and these generations that are coming up, the Todd Zegedys and the Doug Colbys, those types, and the Chuck Hosfelds, not to take anything away from them, but it's a different time, it's a different era, and I think it's a lot easier talent-wise to do well today. It's just tougher financially. But again, I'm being unfair too, because I didn't have to pay the bills when I was a kid. I don't know how hard my father had to struggle to pay his bills. I rode in the car, they bought the gas, they bought me the cheeseburgers. It was free, you know? So it's unfair, but from what I listened back then, I can remember opening my father's bottom drawer of his dresser when I wanted my bicycle. He'd say, okay, go in the dresser and get the money out of the shoebox. I would open it up and there would be, I think, thousands of dollars. There might have been hundreds, but there were 10s and 20s and hundreds and 50s. They were just stacked up, and he just raced for a living at that time, you know? So obviously there was a lot more money to be made and a lot less being spent than today, but again, it's a whole different deal. But I envy them. I wish
Eddie, I appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you. Same here.